So a moment ago, Derek, you mentioned the MCU, and I think that's actually kind of the perfect leeway into our next topic here. And we're going to be talking the new show that just dropped today and that over on Disney Plus, and that's X-Men 97. Now, X-Men 97 is a continuation from X-Men the Animated Series that came out back in 1992. And I want to point out that that was a good year for cartoons because that was the year that Batman the Animated Series also came out. And I remember that I would watch Batman the Animated Series as well as I would watch X-Men, and these were two of my favorite shows to watch. And you know, Batman had that great opening sequence, and then so did X-Men. I mean, they had that theme song.
So good.
That show was a big
great.
deal. Yeah.
So, did either of you watch X-Men 97? Because I actually watched both episodes.
I watched the first one.
All right. What about you, Derek? Did you get a chance to see it?
I'm striking out left and right.
Did you at least watch
killing
the
us,
trailer
Derek. You're
for it?
killing us.
Yes.
Have you seen
The trailer,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
Okay, so based on the trailer and the fact I'm sure you watched the animated series, do you have any interest in it?
Oh yeah. Anything that can take me back to when I was a kid, I'm gonna obviously show interest in.
Can I say
that was
this? Can I say this real quick?
No.
If
Put your hand down.
I just want.
Just like at
say
school. Can I say something? Just say
No,
it.
I just want to say it. If anyone on here could go and not watch a trailer and know X-Men, it's Derek, because we've seen many of the X-Men movies together, and he knows his stuff. So,
Yeah.
just paying him a little compliment there.
Oh, well,
Thank you.
okay.
Hi.
Put your hand down.
Just Josh, it wasn't necessary, but okay. Anyway, let's move on.
I'm gonna have to count to like 5. So.
Yeah, deep breaths. No, I've always been a fan of the X-Men comic book too. It's just a fascinating story that takes us back to like when I think it was like maybe one of the first comics that I ever got my hands on.
All right.
Like I knew who Spider-Man was and I knew who Captain America was, but actually like in my hand comic, I think was one of the editions of the X-Men. So I've been a fan of the X-Men for a long time. So when the TV show came out, obviously as a kid, I'm losing my mind. So I'm actually kind of excited to see what this one brings because it's going to be a continuation. So is it like, I don't know. It just seems I'm interested. Sign me up. I'm not going.
And I will say, okay, so we are going to talk I'm sure a little bit of spoilers, but I'm not going to say a whole lot because that way you can check it out for yourself, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
So Josh, what did you think of that first episode?
I really liked it. It brought me back to, when we were younger and got to see it. And it's funny, both of you know this. Cyclops was always the one in the show that was the big guy. Whereas, in the movies, it was always Wolverine. And I just loved Cyclops in the show. And I thought the whole show was very well done in this first episode. Now, I have not seen the second episode.
I did.
But I know you did. Something must have happened because you're smiling, and maybe it's something you didn't like. I don't know, but I don't want to throw spoilers out there, but I like the whole Jean Grey thing that they did, and I thought the ending was very good. A nice little surprise there. I'm trying to think what else. Seeing Wolverine, in the yellow costume, and it just was I thought it was good. I thought the storyline was interesting, and we'll see what happens in this next episode. I mean, they've got me hooked.
Okay. All right. Well, here's another perspective.
Oh no.
And
I know this is not good. Oh, yeah.
no, actually, I got to be honest. I actually kind of like the first 2 episodes as a whole. Now, I do think there were some issues where I think this could easily fall off a cliff if they're not careful. But okay, let me just say that Marvel with Phase 4, they and part of Phase 5 as well. They're not exactly batting 300 here. They're batting probably under 100, and it could easily fall off a cliff if they're not careful. There was a couple of things here and there that I didn't particularly like, but for the most part, I thought this was pretty good. I liked, of course, that the fact that they had the opening theme song still there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that they had the voice cast back from the original show.
Yep.
Like you said, Derek, this is a continuation from the original show.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of cool. It's clear that they are aiming this at an older audience because they understand that their audience were younger when they started watching it. So they are aiming this at an older audience, and that's obvious. Probably the biggest problem that I had with it, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong because it's been a while since I've seen the original animated series.
Mm-hmm.
It felt to me in this show that the X-Men kind of viewed themselves, not just the X-Men, but just mutants in general, view themselves as a whole nother species, where in the original X-Men cartoon, didn't they have more the notion that they were part of humanity as well, that they're just a next step in evolution? Because, like, I remember an episode from the original series where Beast, I guess when he gets arrested and he's sitting there in prison and Magneto tries to break him out and he's like, no, look, I got to stay here in prison. Humans got to understand that we're not a threat to mankind. We're a part of it. Yeah. And yet in this so far, I keep hearing them refer to humans and mutants. And so that I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. That just something I noticed through the first two episodes, and just kind of curious if that's going to continue or where they're going to take that. So again, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that they viewed themselves as being humans as well.
I didn't really notice that.
They had certain episodes where they would, like, basically when humans would start attacking mutants, that was when they actually did call it out. There weren't too many episodes like that. Like the one that stands out in my mind is when humans start attacking mutants. And there's this like little guy who's like furry, he's all cute and all these humans are just like, like, you're mutant, you're evil. And he goes, dude, I don't even have any special powers. Okay. This is just me. I don't know what to do. And they beat him up, obviously. So there's a couple of episodes like that, where they do make, the distinction that, mutants are different from humans, but they do that in such a way where it gets back to like what Magneto was talking about, where the war is coming. And so that's when they call it out, but it doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot, especially in the second episode. And I guess you'll get there, Josh, and then you can let me know what you think after you see it. Just something I noticed. But I'll be honest with you, it was better than I expected. I half expected Marvel to do something really dumb and, end up having like Jean Grey fighting while she was pregnant or something like that.
You just gave that away. You just gave that spoiler away.
Oh, spoiler! It's in the trailer.
That was, he was pregnant? Good to know.
Yeah, it's in the trailer. She okay. Jean Grey is pregnant.
Got it.
And so I half expected, to see her going into hand-to-hand combat with it because, Marvel tends to do have some really kind of weird choices when it comes to their creative decisions. But
in a way, she's taken over for Professor X in a way, right? With
actually, I see Cyclops as being the one who's more taken over.
No, but using
but she was already psychic.
I know, but I do see Scott maybe taking over. Isn't that
if anything, she was actually more powerful than the Professor.
Yeah.
Well, she had more of like the telekinesis, like, could move stuff around. But when it came to like getting inside the mind, I think Charles Xavier had the leg up, at least at first.
And I think a lot of that though was that he was just more practiced at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was more the issue because I think her potential was actually greater than his. And again, I could be wrong on that. It's been a while, but overall, I actually kind of enjoyed the first 2 episodes, and I'm kind of looking forward to the next one because see where it goes.
I remember being in college in Tucson with Derek, and we watched X2, and that very end scene when Jean Grey goes into the water, and Derek looks at me and he goes, "Holy blank, they're going to do a Dark Phoenix movie," and we were so excited. And then
we got the Dark Phoenix.
And then,
2 of them, in fact. Didn't
Yeah.
look.
oh God!
Oh, that second one. Oh dear Lord.
Oh, tell me about it. No
Oh.
comment.
I'm gonna
Don't
go in
say
the
it,
car
Bob.
and
Don't-
cry.
Bob, I think, is doing it to spite us because
What?
he didn't think it was that bad.
Okay, let me explain because Josh loves to throw that out there without giving it some context. Josh had been burying the movie for so long that I had such low expectations that all they had to do was come out and complete a sentence, and it was already more than what I expected. So I didn't hate it the same way that I probably would have had I seen it when it was in theaters. Because once it came out to theaters and everybody was ribbing on it, I was like, I'm not going to go see it. So it took years before I finally saw it. And that was years of Josh just blasting this thing. And then I finally said, all right, I'll actually, he kind of made me do it. We had a deal. I said, if he watches, or if I watch X-Men Dark Phoenix, then he had to watch Eternals.
Oh.
And I actually think he got the worst end of the stick.
Yeah,
I think Eternals is worse.
You're probably right, actually.
No, Eternals is not just a bad comic book movie; it's a bad movie. Period.
Oh,
and
my God.
and for all of you fans out there that may have liked Eternals and might want to comment on this and say, you know what, that's fine. Go ahead and comment on it because I'm gonna die on this hill right here. This was a bad movie.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have been that bad because the cast that they had, that should have been a great movie. And instead, they were so focused on, when I first realized that Eternals was going to be bad was when they were all on the red carpet and all they kept talking about was diversity and inclusion. And not one of them said anything about how good of a story it was. They all just kept patting themselves on the back. And as soon as they were doing that, I realized, okay, this is not going to be a good movie because their focus is more on the messaging instead of the storytelling. And I'm fine if you want to have a messaging in a movie, but don't do it at the expense of good storytelling. And once they started doing that, I knew there was going to be a problem.
Yeah,
So,
I remember watching the Eternals, and this is when my youngest was still a baby. So I'm up in the middle of the night, right? And I'm just like, you know what? I can't get back to bed. And I've been meaning to watch it. And ironically enough, after the movie was over, my youngest starts crying again. And I'm like, yep, exactly.
That's true.
Oh yeah, that one was rough. And with that cast, it shouldn't have been that rough. I think that was a fantastic cast. I really liked the cast that they had. I just don't know. Oh gosh, that's a whole nother topic. So
because
anything else you guys
followed Endgame. It followed Endgame. And just like you and I said, Bob, Endgame, if they never did another movie again, was the perfect ending.
Yeah, but Spider-Man No Way Home came after Endgame, didn't it?
Yeah. And so did Guardians 3, and those were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not to say it can't be done. You just got to think it through.
Well, remember, Guardians, James Gunn, who can do awesome stuff, and, would have been different if they had taken a different director. I don't think we would have been good. And then Spider-Man No Way Home was awesome. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home was just amazing what they did. And like Bobby always says this to me, Derek, is yes, they brought back, other Spider-Man and other villains, but it was good storytelling.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they brought them all back, but those characters, weren't just brought back for nostalgia's sake. And yes, it was nostalgic to see them on screen, but at the end of the day, they actually advanced Tom Holland's storyline. It actually advanced his character. Yeah. It wasn't like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were just there for no apparent reason. They actually helped advance Tom Holland's storyline. And also, to top it off, they themselves got individual story arcs. Even the villains got story arcs. So overall, I thought it was good storytelling.
The best line in that movie was when he goes, I'm in the Avengers. That's great. What is that, a band?
Are you in a band?
There was a... Oh, gosh, just lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, no, I was going to say now. What's great about that movie, too, is, you start jumping around with time travel. We've talked about this, and how it can go all over the place. The smartest thing that movie did was reel it all back in one shot. Yep. And keep it within the players involved. That was the smartest thing they did.
Yep.
All right, you guys got anything else about X-Men 97?
No.
All right.
I think we're good.